The Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is seen sitting there with President Trump, and they're taking questions pertaining to her work on the ground with her ICE agents, where they are busy rounding up people who are, probably, maybe, in this country illegally. There's really no way of knowing because there is no due process, there are no warrants, and there are seemingly no records of who is being abducted and where they're being sent. Friendly reminder that we're still missing about 1,000 people who were at one time being held in the Florida ICE detention facility.
We arrested recently in Portland was the girlfriend of one of the founders of Antifa, and that we are hoping that as we go after her, interview her, and prosecute her, we will get more and more information about the network and how we can root them out and eliminate them from the existence of American society. I want to thank the new journalists here today for telling their stories and for being able and willing to go to the streets and to cover what's happening here in America. Many times the legacy media has looked the other way, refused to tell the stories. The networks have not really focused on what this is and what damage it is doing to our country, and how this network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as ISIS, as Hezbollah, as Hamas, as all of them. They are just as dangerous. They have an agenda to destroy us, just like the other terrorists we've dealt with for many, many years. And today is the day that we have a president that won't tolerate it and will stand up and fight for the American people.
So you just heard Noem allege that they've arrested the girlfriend of one of the founders of Antifa. Who is this founder? We don't know. She didn't say. She probably didn't say because claiming someone is the founder of Antifa, which is a decentralized political movement or ideology, is intentionally misleading. There is no Antifa the way that the Trump administration would like you to believe that there is. The term Antifa goes back nearly a century, referring to people who were against fascism and authoritarian regimes like the Nazis in Germany. The term has been used commonly ever since, popping up across Europe and Asia in times where there was a need to declare oneself as being against fascism. So here in the United States, the Trump administration has convinced their supporters that Antifa is a nebulous, dark group of people who are so radical in their thinking that they have become violent, particularly against those in power. Antifa is depicted by them at best as looters and at worst as terrorists.
You make the claim of terrorist assaults and violence attack over 100 nights, and yet the judge overseeing this case says that that's untethered from reality. And local officials on the ground say that Trump's assertion of what's happening is in Portland, that it's war-ravaged and burning to the ground, is far from true. I looked at the police data, and police have made something like 70 total arrests since June. And there are no reports of buildings being burned to the ground. The White House cited a guillotine being rolled out as like a public display of rebellion, but there isn't actually a threat that these demonstrators are going to overthrow the government. Are you concerned that that response weakens your legal argument?
No, they are actually, as we speak, trying to overthrow the core law enforcement function of the federal government.
So Kristi Noem is clearly trying to justify the actions of her department by highlighting one arrest that they've made where they happen to pick up someone who is actually a person of interest. It is not clear whether or not this apprehension ever actually happened. It's not clear that this person was arrested legally or if they're just holding her. And it's not clear if her department sought this person out because of her ties to this shadowy radical left terroristic group, or if they just got lucky to pick her up in one of their routine cullings of the populace. But speaking of terrorists, the Trump administration loves to throw that word around, and it shouldn't be surprising to anyone as to why that's happening. Trump has been trying to invoke the Insurrection Act since the last time he was president, but back then his defense secretary did not support the move. Now, Trump has got a new defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who got the job probably just because he was such a big fan of Trump's and because he was so poorly qualified for the role. He is not going to get in the way of any of Trump's plans. He would never dream of telling Trump no. In fact, he recently bragged that Trump yelled at him in the Oval Office, apparently in an effort to demonstrate how forceful and competent a leader Trump really is. Here's this from NBC News. Asked about discussions regarding invoking the Insurrection Act, White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson said in a statement, the Trump administration is committed to restoring law and order in American cities that are plagued by violence due to Democrat mismanagement. And President Trump will not stand by while violent rioters attack federal law enforcement officers. The administration will work to protect federal assets and officers while making America's cities safe again. The act gives the president broad discretion regarding its invocation. It can be invoked at the request of a state or when the president determines that conditions like unlawful obstructions, rebellion, or insurrection have made it difficult to enforce the law. During the civil rights era, 3 presidents, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson, used the act to protect activists or enforce court orders mandating desegregation. It was last used at the request of California's governor during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Trump has made it known that he's not happy about judges preventing him from deploying his National Guard members in Democratic cities, and he's really not happy about governors and mayors fighting back against him. California Governor Gavin Newsom is mandating that ICE agents remove their masks, for example. Also, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has been advising his residents to record ICE agents. And in a totally tempered and normal response, Trump said that he wanted Pritzker arrested, as well as the mayor of Chicago, both Democrats, of course. Sure, arresting democratically elected leaders from the opposition party who have done nothing illegal is totally normal. Honestly, I'm really not sure why this isn't a bigger story. Trump, of course, doesn't seem to have a very strong grasp on the law. Here he is during that same press conference we saw earlier with Kristi Noem. He was asked if he would consider suspending habeas corpus, and he asked who before avoiding the question entirely.
Have you given any more thought to possibly suspending habeas corpus to not only deal with these insurrectionists across the nation, but also to continue rapidly deporting illegal aliens?
Yeah, is suspending who?
Habeas corpus, sir.
I don't know. I'd rather leave that to Kristi. What do you think?
No, sir, I haven't been a part of any discussions on that.
All right, go ahead.
Can the Secretary of Homeland Security suspend habeas corpus? No, so I don't know why he's asking her about suspending it. Also, Kristi Noem very recently did not even know what habeas corpus was. Trump and his team thrive on ambiguity. They use vague terms that sound scary and complicated to 1, confuse and mislead their base, and 2, to justify taking inordinate actions in response to what they claim is a huge problem. And they will never admit that they're lying about how bad things are in these cities because they will never have to. Most of their most loyal supporters don't live in these cities, so they only have second or third-hand testimonies to go off of. But progressive candidate for Congress and Chicago resident Kat Abu-Ghazaleh was herself physically hurt at a protest in Chicago. She was there herself, I want to emphasize that point, but watch what happened when she went on News Nation to speak about what she saw in Chicago. First, here she is discussing the ICE secret police as the host just shakes his head at her.
You said that J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson need a history lesson. I'd like to give you one. When masked men are deployed by an executive figure into our streets, when they are kidnapping people, entire families, naked, zip tying their hands and throwing them into U-Haul trucks, they're usually not the good guys. And in fact, it doesn't usually end well for anyone involved. I personally would call that the secret police.
And as the interview went on, she tried to tell him again about her personal experience in Chicago, but he just kept denying her personal account to the point that Kat just stopped speaking to him entirely and instead addressed his audience directly.
Look, you can talk over me all you want, but I want people to know this is what's happening on the ground. And you have rights,
What's
and I
happening?
know that things...
I'm
we're
still
being
confused.
tear gassed, that people are being taken from their homes. ICE agents repelled from Black Hawk helicopters and arrested naked children in the middle of the night.
No, they didn't. That's been completely debunked. That's been completely debunked.
Literally has not. I have watched a little girl be detained. I watched it with my own eyes.
No kids were zip tied.
I have watched a child be detained with my own eyes.
Okay.
And I get that things are
just ask
scary
you a
out there,
question.
but if you're watching this, this will come for you eventually. And it will hurt your loved ones. And we all deserve our rights. You can just say no, but this is what I've experienced. So to the people watching right now, you know, he can say whatever he wants. I have been there. And We deserve
Well,
better. All of us deserve better.
So I don't have a better closer than that, so I will just leave Kat with the last word there. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.